Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be interviewing, I think, one of the most sadly underrated and overlooked actors to ever come from Canada. He's a Czechoslovakian Canadian character actor. His name is Vlasta Vrana. You may remember him. He was in such Canadian horror movie classics like David Cronenberg's Shivers and Rabid and Happy Birthday to Me, Scanners 2, Night of the Demons 3, movies like that. And I'm going to be interviewing him today, finding out a little bit more about his career and stuff. And after about almost half a year, I was able to get in touch with him and get an interview with him and stuff. Also, I'd like to say happy birthday to the pioneer and forefather of rock and roll, Ray Charles. He's passed away, of course, but his legacy and his music lives on. So, happy birthday, Ray Charles. And yeah, here is my interview with Vlasta Vrana. Hi, Vlasta. Hi, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Yeah, sorry about that. Just a second before you called, my son's girlfriend called with some issue, and I got all screwed up. So anyway,
it's all right.
I'm fine. How are you?
Great. I am just great, sir. Yeah, it's such an honor because to me, you're one of the great actors in Canada. My pleasure. I love Canadian cinema. To me, it's just like American cinema, except it has better scenery.
Well, I like the scenery up here, too.
Yeah. So, did you know when you were growing up that you wanted to be an actor?
Well, I sort of figured it out. My first role was as Turkey Lurkey in grade 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know Chicken Little?
Yeah.
Sky is Falling. Well, Turkey Lurkey is one of those cast of characters, and we did that. But anyway, I did it in high school, and I enjoyed it. But then I took acting at university.
Mm-hmm.
Again, never really believing I would get do it, but I'm doing it. So, right, good.
Wow, that's great. Are you originally from Canada?
Well, I have sort of a checkered past. My parents are Czech,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to run because my father was a journalist. He committed the crime of journalism. And so they ended up in Norway, where I was born, and then we came over here. So I was 4. So.
Wow. Yeah, I'm half Croatian on my father's side, and we get asked all the time if we're Czechoslovakian because Kovac is very similar.
Yeah, I was wondering if I knew you already because it sounds like a name from my past.
Yeah, no, we're Croatian, and yeah, people ask us all the time if we're Czechoslovakian, Bosnian, Serbian, all those.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Well, a lot of the Slavic languages, they're similar. I filmed in Russia, for instance, and
Mm-hmm.
I could get by. I could sort of understand the Russian without really being able to translate it. I got the gist,
Yeah.
So the languages are all connected and similar. It's like a Spaniard understanding Italian or something. So.
Oh yeah, well, my mother's Italian.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Where did you train for acting?
There's a university here. It's called Concordia now, but in the years when I was going, it was called Sir George Williams University, and they had a very good teacher there called Norma Springford who was already old. I'm old now, she was already old when I was 17 and starting there. But she had she was a very strong figure in the theater scene up here.
Uh-huh.
And they founded some theaters and a lot of history. And then, you know, what she taught me in my first day still works for me. You know, I still remember that. You go back to the basics. And then I also trained a bit with John Strasberg.
Oh.
Who was Lee Strasberg's son. I don't know if you know Lee Strasberg from the Actors Studio.
Yeah, of course.
So his son John is you know, teaches theater acting techniques and so on. And he did a workshop for a couple of years at the National Film Board of Canada, which is what used to be actually a great facility. There were all kinds of. It was like a movie city. There were a lot of shooting stages and you know, of the time, you know, in the early 70s. A lot of good films came out of there, a lot of documentary kind of stuff. And I ended up doing a lot of documentary voiceovers, and they did a lot of animation plus feature films. Anyway, so they set up a studio that we used on weekends, full days. It was Saturday and Sunday, all day. And it was like 16 hours on the weekends with John. And that was very valuable to me. It was there were lessons that I got from the things that I've learned that it's still important to me when I'm working, when I'm having a tough time on a scene, for instance, or trying to find something. All that stuff speaks to me. You know, those workshops and those and you know, all that schooling. It informs me and helps me do what I need to do.
Wow. Yeah. When you've done theater up in Canada, have you ever worked with Araby Lockhart?
No.
She's a great Canadian actress. She's in her 90s now, and she's very celebrated up there. And yeah, I was curious. But your first movie was David Cronenberg's classic movie Shivers.
Yeah, it's one of the first. Yeah.
How did you get?
I did two. I did two for him.
Right.
Was Shivers and
Rabid.
It had different names. It came from within, I think, or something.
Rabid.
Rabid. That's it. That's right.
Yeah. How did you get the role in Shivers, and what was it like filming?
How did I get the role? This is you're talking about many years ago. The specifics of how I got the role, I can't remember. I must have heard about it, and I think I may have had an agent already. Somebody made the connection. I'm sorry, I can't tell you specifically how I got the role, but it was I was a young guy just starting out. I'll do anything, you know.
Right.
And I was happy to do it. But it was also David's, you know, first film, so it was really low budget. None of the fancy stuff that he does now. You know, this is really low budget. Yeah, oftentimes, you know, you're sort of like making it up as you go along because, you know, it all depends on what's going on around you and what's available and what the weather's doing to you, and you know, so I was pretty seat in the pants filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. Was he great to work with?
Yeah, for the amount that I actually saw him, because, you know, there'd be a lot of people around, and as I recall, he was fine. He was very accessible, and you know, he tell you quite clearly what he needed. But again, you know, he was trying to feel his way through it as well, you know.
Yeah.
So now, you know, I mean, he's got everything storyboarded and worked out, and you know, everybody knows months in advance exactly how things are going to be done. It wasn't that way at that point, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard he's a very articulate guy, and he looks like an insurance salesman, which is so weird because of, you know, the stuff that he puts on screen is just so dark and so, you know, crazy.
Yeah.
He's a very cerebral filmmaker, and it's amazing what he's done with his career. Did you interact at all with Lynn Lowry or Barbara Steele?
Oh, not so much, no.
Mm-hmm,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. They're both very good actresses, and
Yeah.
it's a classic horror movie. Did any memories on Rabid, or is that the same?
Well, after so many years and so many films, things tend to run together. But Rabid, that was Marilyn Chambers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. She was a porn star that was going with a jet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember that. I remember where we filmed it. The Mists of Time. That's over 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm. The girl who plays her friend, Susan Roman, I interviewed her on the show. Very nice lady.
Right.
She's a voiceover artist.
I remember her, again, a long time ago. And we've had no real interaction since then.
Mm-hmm. And a few years later, you played a bartender in Happy Birthday to Me.
Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah.
You got to work with the legendary J. Lee Thompson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember him well?
Not really. I remember him. I was the bartender in the scene.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of interaction. I didn't start moving up. I didn't start moving up in the director's attention until a few years later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've interviewed Leslie Donaldson and Lisa Langlois. They told me that they learned a lot from Glenn Ford on the movie, because he was such a legend and stuff. I'm surprised he even did the movie, because he really didn't do horror when he was younger.
Well, it's pretty interesting. I've done some horror since. I mean, that's all early stuff for me, right?
Yeah.
I did some horror, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. It was hard work, though. A lot of special effects and prosthetics, and
Oh yeah.
and working all night because you need the darkness in the woods, and and that fake blood can get damn sticky and very cold if it's cold out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
You go to lunch, you have lunch at 2 a.m, and you come back from lunch and they decide, we need some more stuff with that blood, so they're going to put it back on you.
Mm-hmm.
That gets hard.
I bet. You did the voice of a barbarian leader in the Ivan Reitman produced cartoon Heavy Metal.
That's right.
Are you just astounded at how much of a cult phenomenon that movie has gained over the years?
Amazing. Well, we did another one.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm the only actor whose voice is in both the original Heavy Metal and the Heavy Metal. What's it called? 2000 or something like that.
Yeah. 2000.
Yeah.
It's like
that was animation. And because of my voice, I can get it real down to I can get really deep and barbarian-like, and so I do a lot of video games too. And to me, it was like doing the video games now, So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like one of the quintessential midnight movies that plays over here all the time, and it took a long time, like 15 years, to come out on VHS and stuff because they ran into legal issues or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know about any of that.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it still holds up. The animation is still pretty good all these years later.
Right.
And do you remember the movie you did, The Amateur?
Oh yeah.
Lynn Griffin, who I've had. Yeah, Lynn Griffin, who I've had on the show. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of heavyweights.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry?
Oh, there's a lot of heavyweights in this movie and acting.
Yeah. That was fun for me. I was still a young actor then, and we did this. For me, it was all reverse. We did the exteriors, which was supposed to be representing the woods in where was it in Germany or Austria or something like that.
Right.
We shot all that outside near Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And then I flew to Vienna to do the interiors, which is kind of the other way around. You go to other places to shoot the scenery,
Mm-hmm.
But they needed me there for that, which was fine because they put me up in a really nice hotel, and most of my scenes were like the day after I arrived, and then 2 weeks later. So I had 2 weeks paid in Vienna, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Worked with Chris Plummer. I remember we were doing one scene with Chris, and where he's interrogating me, and they were having trouble setting up the shot.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, Chris, why don't you just lean in and do it really close?" Which is very bold for a young actor to tell a great veteran like that.
Yeah.
He liked it, and that's how we shot it.
Oh, that's good.
They just brought the shot in, and he managed to play the intensity much closer, which he's very good at.
Oh, yeah.
It put me better into the shot, too, so...
Yeah, that's good. He liked it, though. But, he's a very intense actor and always plays villains very good. And, yeah, wow, that's a great cast that's in there. Ed Lauder is in it, too. I mean, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ed was quite a character. I had a good time with him.
Yeah.
With Chris, we had a day off, and I remember, so he and some of the other people had arranged for us to have a limo and go tour Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
So we got shown the Spanish riding school, the Royal Lipizaners.
Yeah.
Those big white horses. So that was all part of the palace in the middle of Vienna. So we went to that, and of course we got the VIP access to everything. So that was pretty cool. And we went to see the Vienna Boys Choir in their chapel.
Mm-hmm.
That was very nice, very moving. And then Chris showed me how to drink Bloody Marys at the Sacher Hotel with Bloody Marys made with aquavit. That works very well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you get to hang out with a veteran there. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, he's more of a veteran now.
I know he's.
Worked with him since. We've done a couple of TV shows with him, and he's quite a guy. He grew up very close to where I'm living right now.
Oh. You said they're.
I have friends who knew him when he was a kid.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you said they're in the countryside?
Yeah, I'm outside of Montreal, right on the Ontario border, near the Ottawa River. And,
wow. And you did a couple episodes of one of my favorite horror shows of all time. In Canada, it's known as Deadly Nightmares, but here we call it The Hitchhiker.
Oh, yeah, right.
You did
a couple of small roles in that, yeah.
Yeah, you did Petty Thieves with Steve Railsback and Murray Lauren, who's been on the show. And
right.
You did Man at the Window with Eddie Albert Jr. and Michael Madsen and Belinda Montgomery. Yeah.
No kidding. I forgot all that. Yeah, Michael Madsen, I worked with his sister a few months ago, Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia.
Yeah, we did a really nice series together, but I don't know if it's going to work. But anyway, yeah, Michael Madsen. Steve Railsback, we got pretty friendly. We did a couple of
Yeah, you later did Stranger in the House later with him.
That's right. That's right. Stranger in the House, and there was something else. I think maybe not. Spearfield's daughter. Is she in there? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Steve, I ran into Steve in L.A. and spent some time together here. So.
Yeah, I was supposed to meet him at a horror convention last year, but unfortunately he canceled at the last minute.
Did he?
Yeah. He's such a great actor, though. I respect him so much. I mean, he played Charles Manson in the 70s, and he did him so well. I mean, it was scary.
Yeah.
Then you did... Yeah. Then you did one of my favorites that you told me that you don't remember, Breaking All the Rules.
That's right. Sorry. I have sort of little memories, but I haven't got. I don't know. There's a lot of late nights,
Yeah. Well, so for my listeners who are not familiar with the movie, it's about two teenage boys and two teenage girls who meet at a carnival, and their mission is to get laid, but they get caught up in a jewelry heist. And Vlasta here is a cop who suspects Carl Marot's character as being part of the jewel heist, and he has to interrogate him, but Carl is just stalling him by telling him these false stories. It's really, really funny.
Right. Oh, great. It's been a long time. I've worked with Carl again. He's a good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. I played his father once.
Oh yeah.
We did a film called what was it called? Oh, with David Blue. Remember David Blue from?
That sounds familiar.
What was that show? Yeah. Anyway, yes. So I played Carl's father and played a couple of bad guys.
I'm trying to get an interview with him. He's a very busy guy, but hopefully in the future I will. And stuff.
Yeah.
Now then, yeah, you did many movies that happened to be sequels to cult classics, and the first was Eddie and the Cruisers 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not as good as the first.
What's that? I'm sorry?
It's not as good as the first, but Michael Pare is a hero of mine, and it's a decent enough movie.
I'll tell you, that was probably the worst moment of my career.
Really?
We were filming at the Montreal Forum, which is now gone, but it was like the storied Montreal Canadians who'd won more championships than any other professional team.
Right.
This was their home arena, and it was old and had a lot of history. And we were filming in there during the day.
Yeah.
And I was playing the part of this guy who's showing Michael around Montreal. And one of the things he had to see was a hockey game. So we started filming the close-ups in the morning in the Montreal Forum, in the seats, surrounded by extras. And of course, I'm a completely rabid hockey fan in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm screaming at the goaltenders and at the referees and cursing at their mothers,
Yeah.
And I play this completely rabid, crazy guy. And so that's fine. And there's a couple of Canadians on the ice. They'd had some kind of a practice, and they were skating around. I remember Chris Chelios was on the ice watching us for a bit. And so they knew what was going on. And then we went back that night to do the long shot during the real hockey game. But they couldn't have the cameras in the house. They could only have them in the tunnels, in these particular tunnels, because, safety reasons, whatever. So I'm sitting there with the same extras around me with, a couple of guys with radios to cue me and so on. And I had to do the same thing. Problem is that Montreal Canadiens were playing the Minnesota North Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really quiet game. The place was a tomb.
Oh.
It was full. It's always sold out. It was always sold out, those games. And so there was 18,000 people, and me, I'm in the stands screaming at a game that's not going on. They're playing hockey.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, usually when they're playing hockey and the game's going on, you can't hear the puck sliding along the ice because people are yelling and they're excited and so on. Not on this game, no. You could hear the skates perfectly well and the puck hitting the stick, and that's about the only noise. And me screaming at the top of my lungs about it, cursing at the referees and their mothers and everything. And everybody was watching me instead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little hard for me. I'm not an exhibitionist like that by nature,
Yeah.
And I could see during the TV breaks the Minnesota players would go up to the Canadians and say, "What the hell's going on? Where's security?" And they fight, they're making a film. Okay. But that was a very hard thing for me to pull off.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine, doing that for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Wow. I've heard stories like
the director about it.
Yeah, I've heard.
The director a few years later about how that was the worst moment of my career. He thought it was very funny. But anyway, okay.
He thought it was very funny. Wow. Yeah, I've heard stories of being humiliated like that on sets and everything. It's never fun. It's not what you signed up for.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. That was the situation.
Right.
I mean, you as an actor, you sometimes you got to do things that are really uncomfortable, and that was probably socially very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Playing a complete raving madman for 18,000 people who had no idea what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the police should be there and taking me away.
Yeah.
But, I've jumped into icy water and extremes of temperature and one of the worst moments we were filming in Thailand, in Bangkok, and had to do a scene. There's an area called what is it? Anyway, it's the red light district.
Yeah.
I played this really bad guy who had this bar, and he dealt in children. It was a film called Human Trafficking.
Uh-huh.
And we had to, apparently in the story, there's a police raid, and I take the kids out the back. Now, the problem is it's Bangkok, where it's very hot, and it's very humid.
Mm-hmm.
And in this area, the buildings, the roofs all come back into an alley, but the alley's covered, because the roofs all sort of go over it. And there's an open sewer down the middle of the alley, coming from all of these whorehouses,
Mm-hmm.
So you go in there, and it's 150 degrees. And it's steaming, and the cockroaches are the size of mice, and the rats are the size of cats. And you don't want to slip because it's all covered, it's all scummy and slimy in there. And if you slip, you're going to run up against all of this slime and filth. And
yeah,
that was hard. That was spend a night doing that. That was.
I'm sure. Yeah. God, that's crazy. Do you have any memories from Scanners 2?
Sure. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a friend of mine, Christian Duguay, who directed that. And I've done a number of projects with Christian. Yeah, that was pretty cool. For me, that was like the last big special effects makeup that I've done. I did some actually last year, which was pretty cool. But anyway, for that, it was like a 6-hour makeup special for a particular scene where my head blows up.
Mm-hmm.
And they put on white contact lenses. And what they done first, I'd have to go months in advance and sit in the chair while they did a full body cast, waist up, in plaster. And all was fine. Everything was good, but of course,
Yeah.
So I'm not claustrophobic, but you have a little moment of panic, you know.
Yeah.
So you suppress that. You try and breathe even. So anyway, they made this thing, and then a few weeks later, I walked into the special effects studio, and there were 6 perfect replicas of me.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. The skin tones, all the pores, there was little hairs in them, and the eyes were like surgical eyes, you know. It was really weird and uncanny. And
Yeah.
when it came time for that particular gag, that was 6 hours of setup, and they sort of stuck down my hair and attached all these air bladders to my head,
Mm-hmm.
and also to my hands and to parts of my face, and then they covered that with a wig, the hair with the head with a wig, and they put on sort of prosthetic skin and made it all up, and my hands as well. They had prosthetic sort of skin over my hands, and all of these little tubes gathered at the back of my neck, and I went down my clothes, out my pant leg, and I stood next to a little platform where there's a guy underneath with all of these squeeze bumps.
Wow.
so when the gag's happening, this is my character goes into this huge sort of Hulk transformation thing. He's roaring in pain and agony as his eyes turn white and his head blows up. But there's a guy underneath the platform. He's squeezing all those bulbs so that my head bubbles and my skin bubbles. And,
yeah.
Then they cut that then they blew up the actual copies that they made of me, and they cut that in. So it was a very skillful application of old special effects techniques, which they wouldn't bother with anymore. Now they just CGI it,
Yeah.
But I was lucky to get in for that,
Mm-hmm.
It was a great experience. And in fact, I did a film some years later. This is actually that horror film I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
We had a special effects crew from LA, and they found out that I was the guy from Scanners. And apparently I was famous. I didn't know about this. In the special effects crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Fangoria magazine? They're all fans of Fangoria, and I was in the story. It was like that whole gag was featured, and everybody had to come and talk to me about all the special effects guys.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I've heard some people say they've had on movie sets they've had replicas of the way they look and everything, and it's always pretty weird. And really cool the way the artists do that, or they did, in those days. Now it's CGI, of course. But did David Cronenberg have any involvement with the movie?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, I think by that point he was.
You may have had some advisory or approval thing, but I wouldn't know about that.
Yeah, I think by that point he was done with horror.
Yeah.
You have any memories from Night of the Demons 3?
Yeah, that's the horror movie I was talking about, where that was great. I remember having dinner once at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, sitting in the middle of this really scary woods. We filmed on a peninsula.
Yeah.
And it was willow woods, and willows are brittle trees. They get all crooked and nasty, and at night it looks pretty eerie. So here we are at a nice table next to this scary-looking mansion. The middle of the night, and my table mates, one has an axe buried in his head. Another one's got his eye dangling down. He's got trying to not get it in his soup.
Yeah.
They're all the whole table was one woman had her arm was as a beautiful snake, and all the various creatures, and
Yeah.
But I love being an actor because you get into situations like this. This is like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. You know, this is nuts. You're sitting there, you're eating dinner, and looking at everybody going, "This is a crazy way to live."
Yeah. Was Amelia Kincaid good to work with?
Yeah, she was fine as far as I recall. Yeah, I haven't got too much to say about her. Everything was good with her. She's fine. Yeah. Sorry,
What?
I won't elaborate too much about her.
It's okay.
It had much to do with her. My character didn't really interact with her too much. A little bit. So we didn't spend much time together, you know. So,
Yeah. Was Kevin Tenney ever on set? Kevin Tenney, who wrote the movie and he directed the original.
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I know him a little bit from conventions. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
So you did Stranger in the House.
In there, but he didn't talk to me. I'm sorry?
Yeah, you did Stranger in the House, and I really like that movie. I used to have it on VHS, and I've interviewed Michelle Green and Kathleen Kinmont 3 times, and 2 very charming ladies, and they've told me about the movie. Do you have any memories from that?
Yeah, that was a friend of mine. He lives not far from me. Rodney Gibbons, who directed that. And, yeah, Michelle and
Kathleen.
what's her name? Sorry?
Kathleen Kinmont.
Kathleen, yes, yeah. They were great to work with. I enjoyed them immensely. The film itself, you know, a long, hard piece of work. You know, those long days tend to run together. You know.
Yeah.
But well, I'm glad you liked it. I usually don't see the things that I do.
Which actor does?
Well, it makes me crazy, you know.
Yeah, I heard Gene Hackman. He can't watch himself. He gets nervous.
Oh yeah. I did a bad thing. Last year, a couple of years ago, I was in a glass castle.
Mm-hmm.
And did a nice little scene there. And Dustin sat down. He's the director and the writer and everything. And he was telling me, you know, I really like what you're doing. And I said, you know what? I've worked with friends of mine, and when they start telling me, you know, how much they like my work, I tell them the F-balls. Well, he took it badly.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because all I meant was that it gets in my head. If somebody starts praising me while I'm working, it gets in my head, and I start thinking about what they want instead of what I should be doing.
Right.
It gets me distracted. You know?
Yeah, it's pressure.
It's pressure, and it's the same. It's the same thing as why I don't like to watch myself, because you know, doing the thing is one thing, dealing with it is another. You know, dealing with it, like either watching it or being told how well you're doing, or it's all distracting. You have to be able to focus. You have to be able to stay in character and stay on character. You know.
Yeah.
And all that stuff is distracting. I've been in places. I mean, other places in the world, because I used to travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
For to film, and you know, you'd be in a hotel in Moscow or Paris or something, and you know, late at night you gotta get up in the morning and you're watching TV and you go, oh, this looks sort of familiar, the scenery and the TV, and there I am all of a sudden.
No.
So just then I turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah, so many actors are like that, you know. Especially the actors who Yeah, especially the actors who have like a weekly series and they're like flipping through channels and then they see themselves. But occasionally they'll find an episode of the show that they were pleased with and they will watch it.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure. But I think that's what makes actors, good. Is to be extremely critical.
Yeah.
I do a lot of voice work, narration, commercials and documentaries and stuff like that.
Right.
And one thing that the director shouldn't do is what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
They ask me what do I think. My answer for that is we'll be here all day to do that.
Yeah.
It'll never be good enough.
Mm-hmm.
The director's job is to say that's great, we've got it, moving on.
Yeah. It'll never be good enough in his view, never be good enough in your view. Yeah, I totally get that. It's the craft of the actor and the film that's being made. I absolutely get that. I remember I saw you. You played a prison psychiatrist in the Lifetime TV movie Obsessed. With Jenna Elfman.
Jenna Elfman, yes. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, she is so great in that movie. She should have gotten an Emmy nomination, and it's unfortunate that she didn't. I think that it's a great performance she does.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And Kate Burton too. They were both really good in that movie. Did you enjoy working with them?
Yeah, Kate I've worked with before as well. Yeah, she's terrific. Jenna was a lovely woman and very easy to work with. I was only there for I forget a couple of days or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were terrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that movie too. So.
Talk to Kate about her dad. She's Richard Burton's daughter.
Right. Yeah, and when she talks and when she is angry and yells, you can actually kind of hear him in her voice.
Yeah. Well, what I was really curious about, I brought up the whole thing about the Welsh voice.
Yeah.
The Welsh have this culture of voice. They have the Welsh choirs and the Welsh actors, all of them. Dylan Thomas had this fabulous voice, and
yeah.
Burton and Tom Jones, the singer.
Yeah.
These big masculine voices, which I think is a cultural thing for Wales,
Yeah, absolutely.
We had a nice chat about the Welsh voice.
Yeah, they have booming voices.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you've still been working. You've been pretty much a journeyman actor. I mean, do you think you've had good fortune in the business?
Yeah. Look, I'm not a household name. I'm not any kind of star.
Yeah.
But I keep working. I'm still, I was just filming last week on something, and the week before that on something else, and I do a lot of voice work, so that helps to pay the bills. And I love doing what I do. Contemporaries of mine. I'm past the age of 65, and contemporaries of mine, talk about retirement. I don't understand what that would mean for me.
Yeah.
Because that would be retiring from my life.
Yeah. I mean, the only time you should retire, is if you have a serious health issue or anything. But you're pretty much healthy, right?
Yeah, but I've worked. I've had over the years, I've had various procedures. I've had my knees replaced and ankle, fusions. So I had to be in a wheelchair for a few months and so on. But I still go into work because I'd go do the voices and whatever there was that I was still able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So none of that's ever stopped me. So yeah.
Yeah,
I'm working.
Yeah, it's been a great run for you, and Now, because you've been in a lot of horror movies, do you ever get invited, especially in Canada, to like horror conventions to sign?
No, no. Friends of mine go, especially from the video game people. They go to this whatever they're called, the con
Yeah,
things. I don't know. Yeah, I don't go to those.
yeah,
I can't. I don't know how I do. I get asked for an audition for an autograph once in a while. You know, somebody will see me and remember me, and
yeah.
I just get embarrassed and get flustered, and I'll write something down. But I'm not. I don't do well in the
Hmm.
stands. I don't need to be disrespectful to them or anything. I'm shy. You know.
Yeah, that's understandable. I get that. Well, Vlasta, this has been magnificent, and I'm glad we got to do this finally. And I appreciate your stories, and I thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much.
And yes, you continue working, and I'll be watching if I get access to what you do. And you have yourself a great day.
Thank you very much. You do.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Vlasta Vrana. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, Vlasta. I'm glad we got to the stories. Once you started remembering stuff, I'm glad that we got to it. We did cover a pretty good amount of ground today, and I appreciate your stories a lot. I love journeyman character actors; they are just awesome. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.